When it comes to creatures of the night, they've been a persistent barb in the side of almost every Marvel superhero, starting from Captain America down to Wolverine. Whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter, as these vampires have shown time and again that they are supreme enough to tear down the world and, at the same time, also save it from total destruction. In today's video, we're going to be looking at 12 of the most powerful vampires in the Marvel Universe. Here's calling out all those creatures of the night. It's time to see who the best bloodsucker is. Stay tuned to the end of this video to see if your favorite vamp made the list or not. But hey, before we get into things, we do have one very small request. If you enjoy our content, then please support us by subscribing to the channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you. Now, let's begin.
Good evening, Avengers. I see you received my invitation.
Dracula! Well, there's no denying that Dracula is one of the strongest Marvel villains out there. One has to take into consideration that he is by far the most prevailing and prominent vampire who have existed in the Marvel Universe. After all, we're dealing with an exceedingly powerful force, one that's fought against heroes like the X-Men ever since he first appeared in The Tomb of Dracula #1. Driven by a constant lust for power, companionship, and dare we disregard blood, his centuries of undead existence have given him an extensive network of faithful lackeys, cultists, and brides who were repeatedly seen aiding him and also attempting to resurrect him if and when he is slain. Besides his superhuman strength, speed, durability, and reflexes, Dracula is immortal and a master of hypnotism. His powers allow him to shapeshift into bats, wolves, and also mist for that matter, and he's often seen resorting to his shapeshifting capabilities to mask his real demonic form. He can dodge bullets and even catch arrows out of mid-air. In addition to this, his considerable control over the elements and weather is enough to oppose Thor and even Storm. Then, there's also his mind-controlling ability, and only beings that are exceptionally strong have the power to resist. Furthermore, let us not disregard the fact that he's a very powerful sorcerer, one who's capable of using magic to summon even the soulless. Varnae, the first ever vampire. Believe us when we tell you that Dracula isn't really the first-born vampire, and that it's actually Varnae who's not only the very first vampire to have walked the earth, but also happens to be the one who created the Lord of Darkness, aka Dracula, in the first place. A creation of Steve Perry and Stephen Bissette, Varnae first appeared in the 33rd issue of Bizarre Adventures. The progenitor of the entire vampire race, and therefore their lord, Varnae was an ancient Atlantean sorcerer who was transformed into the first ever vampire after undergoing a ritual that was conducted using the Darkhold Grimoire right before the legendary city sunk. In contrast to the human appearances that most of Marvel's popular vampires usually have, Varnae is monstrous and huge in size, possessing the power to control the rest of his vampire army to do his bidding. Having lived for many years, Varnae ultimately chose Dracula as his worthy successor and manipulated the latter's light, which led him to become a vampire in the first place. Well, Varnae did end his life by exposing himself to sunlight at the top of a cliff. Do not be fooled by his death because, mind you, even when dead, he can easily be brought back to life with the help of the Darkhold. His telepathic skills not only allow him to send humans into a complete state of trance, he can also enslave them at the same time. The solitary fact that Varnae is stronger than every other vampire, added to the fact that he can move at incredible speeds despite his colossal size, makes Varnae one of a kind.
Lock up tight now.
Blade! Have you ever heard of a monster that literally scares other monsters? Well, that's Blade for you. A creation of writer Marvin Arthur Wolfman and the late penciler Gene Colan, Blade made his debut appearance as a secondary character in The Tomb of Dracula #10. It's fitting to admit that his character became so popular amongst fans that it soon led him to star in his own storylines. Technically a Dhampir, Blade happens to be a cross between a human and a vampire. His real name is Eric Brooks, and he was actually born as a Dhampir because his mother was turned into a vampire mere seconds before his birth. This endowed him with the supernatural gift of having a long life and an array of some very unique abilities. Blade emerged as a far more powerful being after Morbius bit him, and post becoming the Daywalker, he also became impervious to sunlight. Besides having a heightened awareness of the supernatural, Blade has superhuman strength, speed, endurance, agility, and some particularly sharp night vision at his disposal. Then there's also his exceptional accelerated healing ability, which in many ways is pretty similar to that of Wolverine. We're talking about Blade recovering from some of the nastiest of injuries at an incredibly fast pace. Last but not least, after drinking Dracula's blood, Blade also gained the ability to transform into a swarm of bats, a wolf, and a dark mist. How cool is that?
What else can I do?
Michael Morbius. Originally introduced as a villain in The Amazing Spider-Man number 101, Dr. Michael Morbius was a brilliant, award-winning biochemist who tried to cure his rare blood condition by developing an experimental treatment which involved vampire bats and electroshocks. However, the experiment that was aimed towards curing his genetic blood defect transformed him into a living vampire instead, and as a result, he gained typical vampire attributes like the need to consume blood to survive. However, time and again, Morbius has proven himself to be one of the most powerful vampires in the Marvel Universe by battling against strong heroes and equally powerful villains. While there's no denying that his elongated canines, retractable claws, and powers of hypnotism make him quite deadly, it's his genius intellect, the ability to adapt to any situation, and added to this, his superhuman reflexes that make him such a menacing threat. The fact that Morbius is a synthetic vampire means he lacks certain abilities, such as the power to shapeshift, manipulate the weather, and control animals. This also means that he cannot be killed when exposed to sunlight, but his bloodlust is fairly severe, especially when he makes use of his powers to a great extent, thereby making him an iconic Marvel anti-hero. Zarus. We're looking at someone who not only has Dracula for a father, but also happens to be a senior council member of the vampires who were serving under Dracula in the first place. Having grown bored of his father's rule and also finding his leadership outdated, Zarus orchestrates a coup to kill Dracula and becomes the new leader, thereby amalgamating all the vampire factions around the world. A powerful magician, Zarus, like most other vampires, has the ability to turn an individual into a vampire simply by biting them. It goes without saying that he's extremely strong and can easily lift about 4 tons, like it's no biggie. His superhuman speed allows him to move at a pace that's greater than even the finest human athletes, and he's immune to any earthly disease as long as he's sure to ingest fresh blood on a daily basis. Zarus' strategic mind, combined with his supernatural powers, makes him a deadlier threat when compared to other vampires. Mind you, Zarus is also highly deceptive and can go to any extent to satisfy his own desires. Bloodline. The daughter of Blade was born with not even the slightest indication that she was also a Dhampir, much like her father. That's why Blade had Doctor Strange place a protection spell on her, one that would literally stop anyone from seeking her out via magic. However, it was during Bloodline's teenage years that she first started manifesting her powers, which were pretty much similar to her father's. This also coincided with the death of Strange, which made the spell wear off. Bloodline possesses superhuman strength, giving her the power to hold her own against other vampires. She can also rip off a car door with just her bare hands. Then there's enhanced durability, agility, and contaminant immunity, the latter making her immune to regular vampire bites. Besides that, she also has an accelerated healing ability and is also an experienced hand-to-hand combatant. Victor Strange. It's absolutely okay if you've never heard of Doctor Strange's brother, Victor Strange. Truth be told, he did die way before the Doctor ever became a sorcerer in the first place. And if we could just add a little bit more here, Victor did not particularly have a great relationship with his brother Stephen. After Stephen didn't turn up at their father's funeral, Victor went to confront his brother and realized he had interrupted Stephen at an inappropriate time. An enraged Victor left his brother's apartment only to be hit by a car and die. Stephen, ridden with guilt, medically froze Victor's body, hoping the technology in the future would help him heal his brother. Later, with Stephen becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, he resorted to magic to help out his brother. However, unbeknownst to Stephen, he ended up using the vampiric verse, which in turn resulted in Victor becoming a vampire instead. It's only fitting to admit that Victor didn't exactly have the best track record after that, and while he did take up the mantle of Baron Blood, it was only for a brief time. Victor would eventually impale himself with a wooden stake, tragically ending his own life. Of course, it's comic books, so Victor would eventually come back to life, but he was trapped inside a mirror dimension. Speaking of Victor Strange's powers, he possessed the usual abilities that we typically associate with vampires, such as superhuman strength, speed, flight, immortality, as well as a fantastic regenerative healing ability, but all of them to a greater degree than most other vampires. Hannibal King. Another invention of the celebrated duo of Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan, Hannibal King made his debut appearance as a supporting character in Tomb of Dracula number 25. Before King became a member of Borderline Investigations and Midnight Suns, he used to work as a private investigator. Life took a drastic turn when he got bitten and killed by the vicious Deacon Frost and found himself transformed into the undead. Utterly shocked and disgusted at what he had become, King made up his mind to never give in to his vampiric nature and feed on a human. Instead, he chose to live on blood from the blood banks and, at times, even dead bodies in animals. Apart from King's superhuman attributes, he's great in hand-to-hand combat, an expert marksman, and a highly skilled detective with an extensive knowledge of interrogation methods. But it's King's indomitable will that makes him a truly powerful and worthwhile mention on this list. Plus, he was played by Ryan Reynolds in Blade 3. That automatically bumps him up a couple of points at the Bloodsucker's Ball. Baron Blood. Lord John Falsworth was the younger son of Lord William Falsworth, who was one of the richest members of the British aristocracy during the late Victorian and Edwardian times. Naturally, John was also absolutely furious when his elder brother not only inherited the title, but also the majority of the estate after their father's demise. As fate would have it, John pursued Dracula in Romania with the hopes of controlling the latter so as to achieve abundant wealth and power. However, John became a victim instead and was transformed into a blood-sucking monster himself. It's fitting to state that John returned to England as Baron Blood to wreak unimaginable amounts of terror and havoc. Due to experiments conducted on him by the Nazis during the Second World War, Baron Blood had the power to withstand direct exposure to sunlight for a particular period of time and not have any of the usual debilitating effects that are most common to vampires. The fact that he was capable of flying gave him an edge, and added to this, he has the special ability to shoot a kind of knockout gas from his nostrils, one that rendered even Namor useless. Deacon Frost. When it comes to the arch-nemesis of Blade, he certainly needs no introduction. Apparently, Frost was a scientist, one who was on the lookout for immortality. During one of his trials, he ended up kidnapping a young woman to inject her with the blood of a recently slain vampire. However, when the woman's fiancé broke into the lab, Frost was injected with the deceased vampire's blood amidst the scuffle. That's how Deacon Frost became a vampire, and his unusual transformation method gave him a rather unique gift. Anybody Frost turned would ultimately generate a doppelganger. This, in turn, led Frost to creating interminable amounts of doppelgangers and having each one of them under his mental control. It was quite clear that Frost wanted to be the Lord of Vampires, a position that Dracula held at that time. Speaking of Frost's superpowers, he possessed exceptional attributes such as superhuman strength, speed, stamina, agility, regenerative healing skills, and dare we disregard the fact that he could shapeshift into a bat, a wolf, and even dark mist. Lilith. There is a significant possibility that one might just confuse Lilith for the mother of demons. We suggest you don't. We're talking about Lilith, Dracula's daughter, to be more precise. Another creation of Wolfman and Colan, the character first appeared in giant-sized chillers featuring Curse of Dracula number 1 as a female equivalent to the king of all vampires. Lilith grew up with an intense hatred for Dracula. Blaming him both for ruining her mother's life as well as causing her to commit suicide, Lilith was transformed into a vampire by the gypsy woman Gretchen, who used spells on her and made her immune to most of the vampire's weaknesses. Of course, it goes without saying that Lilith has fought against her father many a time in search of revenge. Now, in terms of powers, Lilith's abilities are a lot more enhanced than that of other vampires. She's immune to sunlight, and while she can be killed, her spirit will come back whenever Dracula is resurrected. Like it or not, she will return as long as her father exists. Additionally, Lilith has been seen rapidly healing from injuries, even dismemberments for that matter, and she has the ability to control animals such as wolves, dogs, and bats, amongst others. Jubilee. While the mutant Jubilation Lee was born with the ability to generate powerful energy blasts that were often compared to fireworks, a major change in her identity came when she was bitten by Zarus and transformed into a full-fledged vampire. Later on, Jubilee's training with the Forgiven, a secret sect of heroic vampires, helped her master sword skills, and she also became a recipient of one of their Lightbender amulets that would allow her to walk in the sunlight. Jubilee might not have been the most powerful of the vampires, but let us not deny that her fighting skills and her durability are highly impressive. Also, her explosive blasts work on a molecular level, which means that she carries untapped Omega-level potential. Jubilee was cured of her vampirism in 2019 by a shard of the Phoenix Force.
If you're gonna run, do it now.
Marvelous verdict! Unfortunately, that's all we've got for you today, and with that, we've finally come to the end of our video. Did your favorite vampire make the list? Yes, you're entitled to have more than one as your favorite. Also, if we've missed out on anyone in particular, point that out as well. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below, so let us know who your favorite is, if we missed them, if there's any other vampires that deserve to make this list, and of course, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Please leave a thumbs up and stay tuned with us as we promise to come back with more exciting content. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.